I am reconvening the January 28th, 2025 meeting of the Livingston Board of Education. Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Charles.
Present.
Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mrs. Gong.
Present.
Mrs. Kemka.
Here.
Mrs. Yelisevich.
Here.
Ms. Bialik.
Here.
Quorum.
Yes, okay. So this is a board retreat workshop, and we just have a few items that discuss. At the front of the agenda where it talks about public comment, if you look at number 5 and 6, to me, they seem to be in conflict with each other. So number 5 says there shall be no cross dialogue between the participant in the public comment and the Board of Education and/or administration. And it says, upon conclusion of a participant's remarks, the presiding officer will acknowledge the individual's remarks and may respond and direct a member of the administration to respond to the inquiry. So, my feeling is we invite the public to see a business meeting take place. And they have the opportunity to make comments on board agenda items or items of interest to them about the district. I've been working with you for 6 months, and as far as number 6 is concerned, I would only respond if I'm absolutely, 110% correct, sure of my response, only because you really, get one bite of the apple. If I, for some reason, made an innocent mistake, that's what's going to be out there in the public. I just wanted to get the board's feeling. It's no action that we could take right now, but based on their discussion, I could come up with something to share with the board at a later date.
About aligning items 5 and 6.
Those items.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what's the feeling about, I know in some districts there are FAQs that come out after a board meeting in response to questions. So what's your feeling about responding to the individual who may have directed the question to you versus having a FAQ posted on the website?
I mean, that is one option. I think what you've seen the last 2 board meetings, that there were questions out there that I responded to.
Right, the next meeting.
At the start of the meeting.
Mhm.
That goes to part of my concern. While these board meetings are exciting for people around the table, they're not always exciting for everyone in the public. So, not people don't view them on a regular basis.
Right.
So, they may not always hear the answer to their question.
Right.
So I would be supportive of reviewing a proposal to more consistent and language that reflects how we will act in the face of question in particular.
I guess also perhaps indicating going to sort of the chain of command if there are questions.
Well, that's our next stop.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Should they expect a response? Let's say you don't respond immediately in email. Is it or you would only respond to certain questions? What's the expectation for the public?
I guess it would depend on the question. If it was a question about personnel, I wouldn't be responding. and there's other sensitive areas that I wouldn't, but the topics that I responded to in the past were if non-Livingston public school students wanted to join an activity, our board policy says, no, you have to go to school here, part of the activity. That's the second one that I did. So those types of questions, of course, we can answer.
So in a way, there's no consistency. If there's a fairly easy and less controversial questions, we will respond. I mean, you will respond on site. But if the other way, then we're going to be more cautious about how our.
Well, no, even controversial questions. Controversial about personnel, we don't comment on
Right.
personnel. But there's other topics that are controversial that we would respond to.
I think no matter what we decided as a unit, I think the public need to understand some ground rules. Like what you just said, if it is a personnel matter, we don't respond, no matter how clear, easy it is. Honestly, I don't know how many people really understand this is our ground rule. So I would think the public comments, if we really gonna update or do some adjustment, there's more communication in all of us, and then all the people who are watching online or sitting there, and they just keep reminding, keep pushing the communication channel so they understand. Otherwise, when they got disappointed, they kind of like, yeah, it's backfired.
I think generally that the topics of discussion we're required to discuss in executive session are the types of questions we probably can't respond to.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? Everyone comfortable with the administration coming back with a proposal on this?
Yes.
Other item that is there is, how the public can address concerns. So something on our website about a progression of link to our website, and I think we should make it more front and center so people can see it. But it lists a number of topics, whether it's athletics, board agendas, it's in alphabetical order, down to transportation. And it gives the public sort of the roadmap to get questions answered or to voice concerns in a way that gets to the person that can give them to their question or concern. And then it does allow for them to, go up the chain of command if they don't like the response or they feel their question wasn't answered. So I think this is a great document to have for the public. I've been sharing it with the PT Council. I know the buildings have been sharing it in newsletters and at their home and school PTA, whatever they have in their building. I think it will help people, get to the right person to answer their question. To be quite honest, if something happens in a classroom, call me or email me, I'm going to refer it to the principal, and I'm sure the principal will speak to the teacher, and that's the best place for that concern to be voiced.
I think my one question, I'm totally supportive of making it more front and center, is there are particular individuals within the district that the public might not necessarily know. Right? It's easy to know your building principal, but when we talk about like the curriculum, elementary and secondary, knowing who the supervisors are is not as easy to figure out if you don't. And so I think what my ask would be is if we are to make this more front and center, not necessarily advertising everybody's names per se, I don't think that's the right solution, but make it more clear and readily available who those individuals are. Certain individuals are still right?
Or because sometimes the website is difficult for people to navigate. Maybe some of the departments could be hot linked so that people can get to the department that they need.
Yeah.
Or the.
We can look at that.
I think,
I mean, on the last page,
yeah, I think,
Yeah,
Dan
there's-
should put this like on the homepage. But I think it would be a good idea if there are hot links to, especially like,
look
you
at
know,
that.
when we're
Good idea.
supervisors and all of that.
That was my next question. We should put this, put the.
It is,
It is in the left nav, right?
it is,
Right
it's
now.
in the left nav right
Yeah.
now, but he wants to put it more front and center. It's not,
You gotta
Intuitive.
know it's there.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not intuitive, but he wants to put it front.
This is super helpful.
Aaron emailed me about it today. This is so helpful. No to talk to you.
they read the agenda. That
Exactly.
means. All right.
Any other questions, comments on this? No? Good. Thanks.
Okay. So, last year, the district, public input on, facility needs. And, we're using that as a jumping off point to talk to, the different levels of, education, high school, middle school, elementary school. To talk to them about facility needs, program needs. So, what do we see education going to look like in the future? And what kind of facilities do we need to help teach those program needs? So I really just wanted to have a general discussion to help the board start to focus and also, bring back the information you shared tonight to the groups that, I've been speaking to and some groups I've yet to establish and plan to shortly about, what they feel our program needs are going to be and what our facility needs are. We're growing. We're definitely growing. Since the end of COVID, we've increased about 350 students. There's still a lot of construction that has to be done. And that are approved projects or projects that are on the in front of the planning board or still on the drawing board. And then there's some big spaces that still can be built on, whether it's the mall property, that might take a while to do, but we don't know. And we don't have a crystal ball either on what it's going to be. But we do know that the town has approved projects. Projects are being built right now. Projects are in the pipeline. So we really have to start making as strategically as we can because there is unknown out there. So, I mean, we're fortunate. We have an excellent school district. Our students are prepared well for the future. Right now, the beauty of education is you're never done improving. We're looking at the budget, and as soon as that budget is struck, for people probably in this building, it's the next year already. We're really starting to look at the next year, even though we still have graduation speeches to write and things of that sort. So now's the time to have a discussion. Some of the things we talked about tonight may occur and may not, because we also have to worry about, what's this project gonna cost in the end? And how is it, supported through a bond referendum through taxpayers? Any ideas? Sort of open-ended.
I mean, I think I'll start just to kind of kick us off, but I think number one, as the district expands, is how do we maintain class sizes?
Mhm.
And even how do we potentially shrink them? Right? We know that the more personalized an educational experience can be,
Mhm.
right, the better the outcome can be. And so when we're thinking about our facilities and our future curriculum, how do we obviously, what we don't want to do is we're certainly not going to, look to raise our guidelines, but how do we ensure we at a minimum stay, at our guidelines and ideally below that? So that's one.
So I think, we definitely need space. I think we can all agree on that. To add staff, when our budget is capped, and I don't say this lightly, the board may have to think about a referendum on staff to decrease class size. That is an option out there.
As we are looking at this, just preparing students for 21st century,
Mhm.
I feel that we definitely need to, what we haven't done in the last 12, 13 years is taken a full look at the high school program. And I would really want to do that exercise, thinking about how can our students best pursue their passions as well as have the outcomes that they hope to have. What is it that we offer? What is it that we can do better? And what is it that will encourage students to actually pursue their passion while they're in school? Because we do have a very robust offering. But I think that we need to see that are there needs that are unmet?
Mhm.
I would agree with that, but I would also add that we've seen curriculum programs become more integrated in certain ways, even in the last few years with the humanities program, let's say, where there's a combination of English and history and the arts. So when we're thinking about what the space needs are, can we think about not just the programs we currently have, but how we should be designing our spaces to accommodate the programs the way they should be, so that they can be fully integrated in terms of the way our staff needs to work together, but also the way students need to work with each other. And right now, I think we're really constrained by the space limitations that we have and the approach that we've always had, thinking about departments and on the vertical, how those departments operate, but how can those departments work together and serve the students maybe in interesting ways for going forward. But I think our facilities need to allow for that and not to get us stuck as we're going forward. So think, I guess, forward looking.
Allows for more, I guess.
Flexibility.
More cross collaboration between departments.
Yeah. And I think we need to think that way, not just about our high school programs, but
Yes.
also elementary and middle.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a tall order, because we know that, we've also grown. So we have a lot of, priorities when we're thinking about facility needs.
In our equity audit, we had certain things that came up repeatedly. I would just want us to go through that and see how facility needs match some of those needs as they are sitting in front of us. And I agree with Pam. I think we need to look at every level, how the program needs to evolve to best service these students. 10 years from now, a lot of things are going to change. And hopefully we can be, because we're in this process right now, we can be sort of at the forefront of it.
Is building an option, like adding on to the school? I know the high school was increased in size. I'm not sure what year that was in, but
2012.
Around
I
there.
think that
That is definitely something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Mhm.
only keep growing, it seems.
Yeah.
I mean, keeping the classes smaller obviously is better. There are bigger districts like in the cities, teachers don't know kids' names, it gets to the point where, there's not everybody's getting the education that they deserve.
Mhm. When I look at the materials from 2012 and they made projections as far as enrollment, we're above.
Oh, yeah.
What they thought
Oh, yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that I wanted to raise is that we're thinking about the physical space of our building, but we should think about the space outside of and around our buildings. And I know that we always talk about field space needs, but what are the physical needs inside the building for the athletic programs? But what are the space needs for the arts programs, the technology programs, and are there things we need to be doing differently outside the buildings? And are there ways that we can further collaborate with the township to make those things possible in our planning?
So Pam took my next point, or one of my next points, but the other thing is special education students and making sure that our spaces yield the highest degrees of integration and opportunity, that we're giving the same emphasis to our gen ed kids that we also give to our special education kids, and that our spaces reflect their needs as well.
And that they're integrated with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you see that now, always working to do better. But as our population increases, as a percentage of our population, so will the numbers of our special education students. So that is definitely something, that we talk about and is necessary.
I know when we think about like the pre-K population that we have now, and we don't know exactly where universal pre-K might go, but when we're thinking about it and as we're planning, we have a relatively small number now where that number might not be so small down the road.
If it
So
was universal pre-K, it would be another grade level. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But how would the space we have allow for that to happen?
Yep.
It wouldn't.
Only if we add a floor.
So just going back to part of special education, doing everything we can to keep as many kids home as possible. That should be our goal. And then an additional point, which I'll probably get a smile from the audience on, is ensuring our buildings are as safe and secure as possible. That has to be part of our design and our thinking. We can't ignore it. And so it has to be part of that thinking, and obviously the collaboration with police and fire and first responders and security.
So to top on that, safety, security is obviously very important right now. And I was trying to say, for collaborations with town councils and maybe some local organizations, like if we have the resources and the facilities in our neighboring town or in our own town, there's no reason why we can't find a way to collaborate. And we can't do everything by ourselves, and we don't have to do it. If there's a way that we can make a win-win situation for everyone, then we should utilize all the resources and the help that we can get. So, yeah, and then I like the point that we need a new updated demographic study so we can know better.
Yeah.
Yeah, all this information, all this data, we create all this architectural information that is so outdated, that is not reliable.
So we had one 4 years ago.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah, 20.
Now, there's a lot of art and science that go into demographic
Right.
studies.
That's my,
And the
You know,
my concern.
ratio.
it is, and I've been through quite a few of these.
Yeah.
It's a snapshot.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
and they do their best estimates and things of that sort. So even though we had one done 4 years ago, it's no longer accurate. So.
It was, yeah,
It
it
wasn't
wasn't,
accurate.
it wasn't accurate the year after we got it, like it just.
Mhm.
I think we all have to remember that a demographic, and I'm fully supportive of doing one. It's a snapshot, and it's based on best available information, and to the point Dan made, like the mall. There are no direct plans necessarily
Yes.
for the mall today, right?
Right.
And so if we are to do a demographic study and we are to look at future development, that will not be in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it can only be based on known potential projects,
Mhm.
identified projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, forecasting estimation, that's a whole different beast. Also, you know, as far as models are concerned, when you take models that predict children that are going to come out of the units, that's, yeah, it's going to be it's challenging. It's just, it's good for what it is.
My experience is the developers' numbers are usually lower
Yes,
actual.
yes.
Yep.
But I mean,
And I believe when I read the demographic study, they actually take that into consideration and use a multiplier of what the developer has to say.
even then, I feel
Yep.
it'll be off. The
Yep.
delta, it's very hard to predict the delta because we don't have the kind of housing that we are going to see to
Yeah.
predict off of.
It's better than no information, but it's certainly imperfect information.
Yep.
So we'll just have to consider it as something. We should do one, in my opinion. Anybody have anything else they want to offer to the district as we're thinking about, or they're thinking about next steps?
I guess the one other thing I would add is that I know we had talked about the idea of a performing arts center in various parts of town. But we also talked about other communal spaces for students, particularly high school students. And if we could take those needs into account too, when we're thinking about space.
Good.
If money wasn't an issue.
Going once,
Want it.
twice, sold.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks
you.
for your,
Are there any other topics for us to discuss?
we do not.
That I will open us up for public comment. Guidelines are on the podium as well as in the agenda. The timer is up on the screen. Is there any public comment in the room?
How are you guys?
Good, how are
Dr.
you?
Fishbein, welcome. I before with Dr. Block had a couple conversations about security. Security is like my biggest thing. I think you guys do everything else great. So I have no complaint about that. But just having a background of private security, I have two kids in the district. They go to Collins. And it's a great school. Have no issues with the school. It's just it's not secure. And
I just get you to state your name for the.
oh, sorry. Yeah, my name is David Lipsick. I live in the Collins section. So I have two kids that go to school there, and it's just not secure. I've had conversations with the police chief. They've mentioned a couple of times that they've requested previous that an officer be in the school. Dr. Block didn't agree with that. So I'm here to basically state that security has to be done in the schools because it's just completely inadequate. Secondly, I think last year's budget, you guys put in an audit to do an audit for security. I've been looking in the agendas and unfortunately haven't been able to come to the meetings, but I was curious. I know you can't respond, but maybe you can know where that's at, if that's moved forward or if it's kind of in the beginning stages. What I mentioned to Dr. Block was I'm just afraid that this is going to go, you guys pick someone this year and then next year they do the audit and then the following year you get results and then the following year you guys take action and now we're 4 years down the road and probably what they recommended is outdated at that point. So my biggest thing is welcome and hopefully we can improve the security in the schools because it's severely lacking. So that's all. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online? Seeing no hands raised, I'm going to close public comment. Can I have a motion on item 5.1, the HIB report? Comments? Seeing none? All?
Mrs. Charles,
Yes.
Mrs. Gong,
Yes.
Mrs. Kemka,
Yes.
Mrs. Yelisevich,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I have a motion on adjournment?
So moved. Oh, student report?
No.
No.
Aye.